If you think the reason you can't lose weight or feel exhausted after a meal is just slow metabolism, you are missing a critical warning sign that your body is literally failing to process the fuel you're giving it. Most people are walking around with a digestive system that is effectively clogged, leading to toxic backup, chronic inflammation, and a complete shutdown of fat burning. And the worst part is that your standard blood tests will show everything is normal until it's far too late. What I'm going to show you today are the 3 specific, undeniable red flags that your body is screaming at you right now. And if you ignore them, no amount of dieting or exercise will ever work because you are essentially trying to run a car with a fuel line that is 90% blocked. Right now, I want you to stop and type the word health in the comment section below to lock this intention into your subconscious and signal to the algorithm that this life-saving information needs to reach more people. Hit that like button immediately because this is the data the massive food corporations don't want you to have. And subscribe to this channel right now because joining this community of thousands of others who are taking control of their metabolic health is the single most important step you will take today to ensure you aren't left behind as your body ages. You see, most people think digestion starts and ends in the stomach. But the real secret to whether you burn fat or store it lies in a very specific fluid called bile. If you aren't digesting fat, you aren't absorbing the fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K, which are the master controllers of your hormones, your skin, and your immune system. But before we even get to the vitamins, we have to look at the first early warning sign, and this is one that most people dismiss as just getting older or eating too much, but it is actually a sign of a looming gallbladder disaster. The first warning sign is right-sided tension or a dull ache right under the right rib cage that often travels up into the right shoulder or even the neck. Now, why would your shoulder hurt if your digestion is the problem? It's because of something called the phrenic nerve. When your gallbladder, which is that little sac under your liver, gets congested because your bile has turned from a liquid into a thick, sludge-like consistency, it swells. That swelling puts physical pressure on the phrenic nerve, which shoots a pain signal straight up to your right shoulder blade. If you find yourself constantly rubbing your right shoulder or feeling a tightness in your neck after a heavy meal, your body isn't just sore. It is telling you that your fat digestion machinery is grinding to a halt. If this sounds like something you felt, drop a yes in the comments right now because you're definitely not alone and we need to address this before it turns into a stone. What most people miss is that bile isn't just for digestion, it's a detergent. Think about washing a greasy frying pan with just water. It doesn't work. You need soap to break down that grease. Bile is your body's internal soap. When you don't have enough of it or it's too thick, the fat you eat just sits there. It stagnates. It starts to ferment and create gases. This leads directly into the second warning sign, which is much more common but far more misunderstood: bloating and floating stools. If you notice that after you eat, your stomach feels like a literal balloon, not just full, but tight and distended, that is a sign that the fat is not being emulsified. When fat isn't broken down by bile, it travels into the small intestine in large globules that your enzymes can't touch. The bacteria in your gut then try to deal with it, creating a massive amount of gas. Furthermore, if you look in the toilet and notice your stool is floating or leaving a skid mark or an oily film, that is a direct medical indicator of steatorrhea. That is a fancy word for fat in the stool. It means the high-quality, healthy fats you're paying for, the grass-fed butter, the salmon, the avocado, are going straight through you and down the drain, leaving your brain and your hormones starving for nutrients. Now, this is where things get even more serious. If you're seeing these signs, your body is likely entering a state of vitamin D deficiency, regardless of how much sun you get or how many supplements you take. Why? Because vitamin D is fat soluble. If you can't digest fat, you can't absorb vitamin D. This leads to low mood, back pain, and a weakened immune system. If you're starting to see how these symptoms are all connected, hit that like button to help spread this message to someone who might be struggling with these random aches and pains. The third warning sign is one that people almost never link to their gut, and it's the one that affects your appearance and your vision: chicken skin on the back of your arms and poor night vision. Have you ever noticed those tiny little bumps on the back of your triceps? That's called keratosis pilaris. Most people buy expensive lotions to fix it, but that is actually a vitamin A deficiency. Vitamin A is responsible for the health of your skin's epithelial tissues. If you can't digest the fats that carry vitamin A, your skin starts to hyperkeratinize, creating those bumps. Similarly, if you find it harder to see while driving at night, or if your eyes take a long time to adjust when you turn off the lights, that is your retina screaming for the fat-soluble vitamin A it needs to function. But what is the root cause of all of this? Why is the bile getting thick in the first place? This is the part nobody talks about. It's usually not a fat problem, it's an insulin problem. High levels of insulin, caused by a diet high in refined carbohydrates and frequent snacking, actually signal the liver to stop producing high-quality bile and instead start producing cholesterol sludge. This is why so many people on a standard diet end up with gallbladder issues. You've been told to avoid fat to save your gallbladder, but it's actually the sugar and the frequent eating that are destroying it. If this is blowing your mind, make sure you are subscribed to Metabolic Health Lab because we are diving deep into the unconventional truths that actually move the needle on your health. What we have to realize is that the body works as a holistic system. When you fix the bile flow, you suddenly find that your brain fog clears up, your skin glows, and that stubborn belly fat, which is often just inflammation and bloating, starts to disappear. What happens next is the part that really changes the game. To fix this, you don't just need less fat. You actually need the right kind of triggers to get that gallbladder squeezing again. One of the best things you can do is introduce purified bile salts or an apple cider vinegar tonic before your meals. The acid in the vinegar signals the gallbladder to release the bile. Without that acidic trigger, the gallbladder stays lazy, the sludge builds up, and the cycle of poor digestion continues. Think about your body like a fish tank. If the filter is broken, you can keep feeding the fish the best food in the world, but the water will stay toxic and the fish will eventually get sick. Your gallbladder and your bile are part of that filtration and processing system. If you're getting these signs, the shoulder pain, the bloating, the skin bumps, your filter is struggling. I want to ask you a serious question. How long have you been ignoring these signals? Many of us have been taught to just take an antacid or take a Tylenol for the pain, but all you're doing is cutting the wire to the alarm system while the fire is still burning. If you're ready to stop patching the symptoms and start fixing the machinery, type "ready" in the comments right now. It's time to shift the focus from what you're eating to how you're processing what you're eating. Now let's talk about a repeatable pattern you can start today. First, stop snacking. Every time you eat, you trigger a tiny bit of bile release. If you eat all day long, you exhaust the system. Intermittent fasting is one of the most powerful tools for resetting your gallbladder because it allows the bile to concentrate and become potent enough to actually do its job when you finally do eat a meal. Second, consider adding bitter greens like dandelion or arugula to your diet. Bitters are natural cholagogues, meaning they stimulate bile flow. If you found this helpful so far, hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow and allows us to keep bringing you this high-level metabolic research for free. And if you haven't yet, subscribe and turn on all notifications because our next video is going to break down the specific anti-nutrients in your vegetables that might be making your bloating 10 times worse. The beauty of the human body is its ability to repair. Even if you've had your gallbladder removed, you can still lead a perfectly healthy life, but you have to be even more diligent about supporting your digestion with bile salts because you no longer have a storage tank for that bile. It's just constantly trickling into your small intestine, often not in high enough concentrations to handle a big meal. As we wrap this up, remember that your health is a result of the signals you give your body. Pain is a signal. Bloating is a signal. Skin issues are signals. They aren't problems to be suppressed. They are messages to be understood. When you understand the real reason behind these signs, the solution becomes simple. I want to thank you for being part of this metabolic revolution. By watching this, you are already ahead of 99% of the population who are just following generic advice that doesn't work. Before you go, make sure you've typed health in the comments, liked this video, and subscribed. Taking these small actions helps build the momentum you need to stay committed to your transformation. Your journey to a bloat-free, high-energy life starts with listening to these 3 early warning signs today. I'll see you in the next video to continue our deep dive into the secrets of your metabolism. Stay healthy, stay informed, and keep pushing for the truth.